So let's begin with the judicial process subject. The first question says notions of precedent as part of judicial creativity. So the judicial creativity adapts law to societal values. Precedents bind future cases in common law. Stare decisions adhering to previous decisions firmly. Judicial flexibility allows adapting precedent to society. Essay examines judicial creativity in precedent framework. Concepts like distinguishing, overruling, expanding, restricting precedents. Concept of precedent in law, definition. Higher court decisions guide future cases, ensuring consistency and predictability. Stare decisions, courts must follow higher courts' precedents strictly. Judicial creativity and its necessity. Judicial creativity adapts laws to society's evolving values and complexities. Courts balance stability in precedents with flexibility for new contexts. The above topics are covered in this question. So, the notions of precedent as part of judicial creativity, the fishbone diagram shown below shows the distinguishing precedent, overruling precedent, expanding the scope of precedent, restricting or narrowing the scope of precedent, creating new legal principles using precedent. So we will see all these five. Distinguishing precedents, distinguishing allows judges case flexibility. Judge identifies key factual differences. Unique facts permit different outcomes. Prior case isn't directly applicable. Balances creativity with precedent respect. Adapts laws to unique case circumstances. Respects established legal framework boundaries. Avoids strict adherence to precedent. Ensures fair, context specific case decisions. Preserves judicial adaptability within law. Examples are merit versus merit illustrates distinguishing precedent concept. Court distinguished it from Balfour versus Balfour. Balfour held domestic arguments non-binding and agreement was written post-separation. Written agreement made it legally binding. Differentiation respected Balfour precedent principle, adapted outcome to unique case context, allowed flexibility within established precedent, honored precedent while considering new circumstances, demonstrated judicial creativity in applying precedent. Case law Kishori Lal versus State of MP. It illustrates distinction. Supreme Court distinguished mental illness precedents, applied different standards for psychological condition, focused on specifics of defendant's condition, balanced precedent with unique case nuisance, demonstrated flexibility in criminal liability cases, considered mental illness impact on liability, showed creative application of legal standards, respected precedent adapted to unique facts, reinforced case specific approach in judicial decisions. Overruling precedent allows courts to revise law. Higher courts overturn previous decisions. Earlier ruling deemed incorrect or outdated establishes new updated legal standards, adapts law to evolving societal values, reflects shifts in scientific understanding, adjusts for changes in legal interpretation, enables judiciary to refine legal principles, ensures law aligning with contemporary norms, balances tradition with legal adaptability. Brown versus Board overruled Plessy versus Ferguson, rejected separate but equal doctrine, addressed racial segregation in public schools, declared segregation inherently unequal in schools, aligned law with modern equality values, shifted legal stance on civil rights, reflected changing societal views on segregation, established precedent for equality in education, advanced civil rights through judicial decision, demonstrated power of overruling outdated doctrines. Case law Shayara Banu versus Union of India. Shaira Banu case overruled triple talaq practice, declared triple talaq unconstitutional in India, emphasized gender rights and legal reforms, addressed inequality in personal laws directly, upheld constitutional principles of gender equality, showcased judicial creativity in personal law, aligned regional practices with constitutional values, strengthened rights for Muslim women in India, demonstrated progressive stance on gender justice, reinforced equality as a fundamental legal practice. Third is expanding the scope of precedents. Judges expand precedents to new scenarios creatively, broadens application of established legal principles, covers areas unanticipated in original precedent, essential for adapting law to new contexts, extends precedents relevance in evolving situations, ensures law remains applicable and dynamic, judges interpret precedent beyond original scope, allows legal principles to address modern issues, balances tradition with progressive legal interpretation, supports continuity while embracing legal adaptability. Example, Donig versus Stevenson established broad duty of care, introduced neighbor principle in negligence law, initially applied to consumer product relationships, expanded beyond product liability over time, influenced medical negligence and public safety cases, extended to environmental law responsibilities principle applied across diverse legal contexts, demonstrated adaptability of foundational legal concepts, set lasting precedent in duty of care, supported broad applications in negligence jurisprudence. Case law Vishakha versus State of Rajasthan. The Supreme Court expanded rights focusing on workplace sexual harassment, citing international conventions and treaties applying constitutional principles of gender equality under Article 21. This decision reshaped workplace protections, providing guidelines against harassment, ensuring women's dignity and safety, making a crucial legal milestone. Fourth is restricting or narrowing the scope of precedent. Judges limit precedent applicability by narrowly interpreting its scope, ensuring it applies in context. Judicial creativity guides the process, deciding when principles should restricting precedents to specific situations, balancing legal consistency and flexibility, adapting principles to new realities, ensuring relevance in future cases, shaping involving evolving legal interpretations. Example is RV versus Brown was significant. House of Lords ruled on consent. Consent was not a valid defense. Bodily harm is sadomo. So practices excluded. Court distinguished sports and medical activities. Consensual activities in these contexts allowed. Narrow interpretation limited bodily harm defenses. Masochistic practices treated differently in law, legal principles restricted to specific cases, judgment shaped consent's role in law. Case law MC Mehta versus Union of India Supreme Court restricted strict liability applicability. Rylance versus Fletcher principle discussed limited liability for hazardous activities, imposed strict liability interpreted narrowly by court, focus on controlled environments for liability. Court maintained flexibility in imposing liability, adapted principle to Indian concerns, considered industrial and environmental factors, judgment balanced legal principle and context. The fifth one is creating new legal principles using precedent. Judges create new legal doctrines, foundations of precedents are used, address previously unrecognized legal areas. This process requires judicial creativity. Judges synthesize past decisions effectively, new principles or standards emerge, legal doctrines adapt to new challenges, precedent based reasoning forms the foundation, innovation bridges gaps in laws, judges shape evolving legal frameworks. Rylands versus Fletcher established strict liability. Individuals held liable for harm caused. Liability applies to dangerous activities on property. Negligence is not required for liability. The ruling created a new liability area. Strict liability applied beyond initial context. Doctrine adapted to various domains, expanded to environmental law applications, incorporated into public safety regulations. Rylands versus Fletcher shaped legal principles. Case law, Maneka Gandhi versus Union of India, Supreme Court creatively interpreted fundamental rights, established the principle of due process. The principle was linked to Article 21, personal liberty right, emphasize procedural fairness, form the basis for landmark judgments, strengthen civil liberties in India, influenced human rights jurisprudence in India. Judgment had lasting legal and social impact. The conclusion is precedent and judicial creativity are crucial, ensure consistency while allowing adaptability in law. Judges balance stability and innovation, carefully distinguishing overruling and expanding precedents held help. Judicial creativity addresses new legal challenges, involves with changing societal values and needs. India's higher judiciary ensures responsive legal system. Supreme Court plays key role in shaping law. Doctrines like Maneka Gandhi protect rights. Judicial creativity remains cornerstone of justice.